Hello friends, Koolio here, and welcome back to the channel. Doing another video for Iron Saga. I know you guys are probably thinking, Koolio, why are you doing another video for this game? Well, a couple of days ago, I posted a video about how I came back to the game and I've been really enjoying it, and I kind of talked about the reasons why I've been enjoying it so much. Like the story, finally kind of figuring out how like combat and that kind of situation works and stuff like that. And honestly, like one of the things I want to talk to you guys about, kind of a little bit of a beginner's guide, is the insane amount of depth there is when it comes to forming your team, okay? So this is the current team that I'm running with, and I have some of the coolest looking mechs I have ever seen. Now, the two that I'm really proud of is the ancient mech known as Belial. This guy is freaking dope. His whole background story, when you're like reading through the campaign, is crazy, but he's like an ancient god, deity mech or something like that. It's amazing, okay? The other one I want to talk to you guys about is Breaking Dawn. Now, over at the store currently right now, they have a special rate-up banner for the Breaking Dawn mech. And now, as far as I was able to tell, kind of like doing research into the game and trying to figure out like tier lists or what specific mechas I should go for, Breaking Dawn was kind of up there at the top of the list. He wasn't like super up there, but he was like S tier. So like he's a really good mech, and I have to say, like, he is fantastic. Now the crazy thing is I ended up doing a summon. I got him, and then I did drop some money on this game. $3, a total of $3, but I wanted to support the developers, and I got myself a second Breaking Dawn. And I freaking love this guy. He is so incredibly powerful, and he's been helping out so much. Like I used to be kind of a little bit higher up in like the PvP bracket, like upwards of position of like 30,000. And over the course of like the last couple days, I've just been running in, pretty much winning every single fight, and I've dropped myself down to below 9,000. I mean, it's not amazing, but I mean, I was at like 30,000 before, so over the course of like 2 days, I mean, I guess it's not bad. I'm hoping to get a little bit higher. But what I'm gonna go through is actually talk to you guys about what you need to know about setting up your overall team composition, specifically when it comes to working with pilots and mechas, because I gotta say, the game doesn't really do a good job at explaining a lot of stuff that this game has. So let's go ahead and actually talk about Slokai. I don't know her full background story. Oh yeah, she's the Pope, that's right. She's the 7th Pope. So that's apparently the Pope in this universe. Part of the Mechanical Vatican faction. Her background story is pretty interesting, but she has some pretty cool abilities behind her her skill ability that has made my Breaking Dawn kind of OP. But before we get into that, I do want to kind of show you guys a couple of different things that I think are really important to understand when you're playing this game, and specifically deciding on which pilots you're going to have with which mechas. Now, down here, you can see the overall stats for your specific character. The ones that I kind of want to focus on are the top 3, ranged, melee, and defense. It doesn't really explain to you what these numbers really represent. Is it a percentage? Is it like just a basic stat increase? Well, basically, the higher it is, the better it is, okay? That's basically what you need to know. Now, my Breaking Dawn is specifically a long-ranged mecha, and she has the highest range DPS out of any character I currently have, meaning if I put her as the pilot for that mecha, he'll do more increased range damage. You can kind of go in and do tests for a lot of the stuff, which I spent a lot of time doing tests. Like, I've been playing this game, I probably added about another 8 hours since the last video I did, and 2 hours of that was like specifically just like setting my team up. Now, on top of that, you have the melee stat and then the defense stat. Those are pretty simple to understand, but I just kind of wanted to point it out because I didn't really understand the pilot stats and kind of how they work with the mechs. But the higher the stat is, the better damage that your mecha will end up doing. The other thing is the personalities for the mechs now, or for the pilots. This is something that's pretty interesting too and can help with your overall team build. Now, each of the characters has a specific type of personality, which will be a part of this first part up here. Don't worry too much about this stuff down here. This is what I'm talking about up here. Now, she is an arrogant character, which means her skill points increases faster, allowing her to activate her, what's known as her first skill right here, the Machine God Howl, a lot faster than other characters. Now, there are some mechs that you can equip with her, which will give her bonuses and increase her SP and stuff like that, so do keep that in mind. But let's actually talk about the skills themselves, because hers was a little bit confusing and I didn't really understand how it worked. So basically, when you click on it, the Machine God Howl is her activated skill. So once her skill points during combat fill up her skill gauge, she can then activate it. And basically what it does is the first main armament 7x scatters, dealing 10.5% bonus damage. The dealing bonus damage I get. The first main armament, I have no idea what that was. 7x scatters, again, I still had no idea what that was. And I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you guys how that works. So let's go ahead and head on back, and we're gonna go to my mechas now. We're gonna go ahead and look at my Breaking Dawn, who I freaking love. By the way, as you go through and you upgrade them, there is visual progression. It's subtle, but it's there, and I really appreciate that. Let's go ahead, we're gonna take a look at his abilities down here. A lot of this stuff is going to seem really confusing, but the thing I wanna show you guys, the thing that I think is the most important, specifically comes to the descriptions for this character's ability. So, we've got the particle cannon, the beam shoulder gun, waste EM track cannon, and the particle gun. Now you'll notice below that it says burst main armament, burst secondary armament, single shot main armament, and burst main armament. Now if you remember specifically when it came to my Slokai pilot, if we go ahead and take a look at her ability again, it states that the first main armament has a 7x scatter. So let's go ahead and head on back to my mecha real quick. I'll show you guys kind of what that means. So if you go ahead and take a look at your mecha, this skill up here at the very top, the first skill is the first main armament ability, which means when I go and I use Machine God Hal, it will affect just this ability, okay? Which is gonna come in handy in just a second. So let's go ahead, we're gonna go ahead and test this character out, and I'll show you guys kind of how this works. Now I've got her down here. That purple beam that he fires off is the particle cannon, which you can see down right here with the test ability. Okay, so he's gonna fire it off. There's another purple one. But pay attention to the purple beam, okay? Again, he's getting ready to fire it, and he's gonna fire it here in just a second. Boom, purple beam. Now she's gonna activate hers. Now pay attention to what happens to his purple beam. It fires into 7 different directions, scattering away from the enemy. So then, like I was playing through one of the games, and I was accidentally activating her ability for the Breaking Dawn, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, what just happened? Which led me down this rabbit hole of finally understanding how a lot of these different character abilities works. It was something that I really couldn't comprehend at first, because it doesn't really explain to you a lot of this stuff as you're playing through the game. Now, some of the other stuff I kind of want to talk to you guys about is when it comes to like the gear system in the game. So let's go ahead and head on over to my team. And I want to say, I think it's my Valkyrie and Sasaki Hikaru that has this. So a lot of these abilities, a lot of his abilities specifically focuses on using like different skill or different missiles. So a lot of his abilities, his first weapon skill does missile damage. He gets a new one that does missile, and then he has a single shot main armament. This will be his first main armament ability. So pay attention to that as well. Like if you're, if you have a skill that focuses on the main armament, this is his first one. And then he's got a basic sword melee attack. So most of his abilities are centered around using missiles. So I've got a bunch of stuff equipped. Missiles gain or missile weapon attack plus 5.8%, increase automatic and burst missile weapons magazine by +1. I've also got another one right here, rank 1 and rank 2 weapon attack plus 22.44%. That's these two right here. The triple bazookas will deal extra damage on top of that. So when it comes to kind of forming and setting up your team, there's a lot of depth to this game. Kind of an insane amount of stuff that doesn't really get explained to you very easily. So I was hoping to be able to kind of go through and kind of explain to you guys how a lot of this stuff works. So I'm still kind of going through and working on and trying to figure out how my overall team is going to be presented. For example, this guy is a melee-based character, so I've got a character that has a higher stat in melee itself, and then he's got some pretty decent HP, and so she's got a pretty high defense as well. Now, she is a character that has a lot of healing capabilities, so kind of putting the two of these together, because he can resist long-range attacks from grenades and everything like that, they can kind of stay alive a little bit longer, allowing her to activate her healing ability or have the chance to activate it almost every single time. And then you can see some more of their abilities and then the unique abilities. Now, I do recommend paying attention to the test function in this game. Like I said, I spent probably 2 hours playing through the test function, just trying to figure out how these different characters work and how their special abilities work and everything like that, and their overall DPS down here at the bottom, to really fine tune a lot of these characters. And so this is probably my favorite aspect of the game so far, is this customization with all these characters. Now, I'm obviously not a pro, but this is kind of just like my beginner guide to help you guys out when it comes to going through and kind of working and focusing on your characters. One thing I could potentially do with this build is my Thor character right here is a pretty heavily focused melee-based character. So if I actually swap him with Sasaki right here, Sasaki has an ability called the Swallow Flight. Basically, they'll fly around the battlefield doing melee damage to a bunch of enemies. May not be the best for this specific character, but could work really, really well for Thor. So this is something I could kind of go in and swap the two of these out. So you just gotta have to pay attention to how you want the builds and everything to kind of work out. And so there you guys go. That's kind of like my little bit of a guide for Iron Saga. I've been really, really enjoying this game. This is kind of my favorite game right now. I've just been having a blast. I haven't been able to put it down. It's the one I go to when, you know, I've got time to kill. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, a thumbs up would be super appreciated. And also make sure to subscribe to the channel for more mobile gaming videos coming soon. Hey friends, I'll see you next time.